What will you get from working with Voltage Vista? An invoice! Okay, I always wanted to do that, but for real. Couple of things. Number one, you get me. I mean, at the end of the day, I think I'm a great person to work with. I mean, let me just brag on myself a little bit. Working with me is fun, and here's why. I am good at what I do. I enjoy what I do. I take myself seriously, but only to a point. And one of my goals, frankly, is to make it easy for you to talk to me. And here's why. I recognize that as a leader, you probably don't get empathy from a lot of people, and certainly not the people who report to you. Sometimes those people fear you, but oftentimes they aren't empathetic in your direction. And what I really aim to do with the clients that I partner with, I want to make sure that they know that they have somebody that they can talk to about the challenge in their organizations. And not only about those challenges, but you can also be honest about, I don't exactly know what I want to do. And I promise you, I won't judge you, and I will work really hard to help you find a solution that takes into account what your personal concerns are, what the specific needs of your organization are, and what I know are best practices for the nature of the challenge we're trying to address. So that's one of the things that you get. The second thing you get when you work with me, if we're working together for training, is that you get training that the employees will actually engage in. And they learn something. How about that? Here's why I think twice and think really hard about how I design training. Before I started doing this work for a living, if I'm honest, I hated training. You know why? Sometimes you go into these training spaces and you're just like, this is the most boring thing I've ever sat through. Oh my God. Nobody wants to be here. So what I would do, in all transparency, I would take a journal or something with me, because I'm like, well, if I've got to sit in this room because my boss requires it, at least it's not going to be all a bunch of wasted time. Yes, I intended to plan to check out. That's how much I dislike training. So one of the things I do in the prep process for training, I talk to you quite a bit. And if you give me the option, I even like to meet a few people on the team, because what I'm trying to do is learn the language of the people on your team, get a vibe or feel for their vibe and personality, so that I can design training that will resonate with them, that they will actually enjoy as they learn. And last but not least, I go out of my way to create stories for training. Some of the stories are completely true, and some of them are a little embellished. But the point is that I think about how to create stories, because what we know is that people remember stories sometimes more than they remember the concrete specifics of the policies or the rules or the training. And if I can get them to remember the stories, I can get them to remember the point. So you get training that people learn something and they actually enjoy it. The third thing that you get when you partner with me for consulting projects are my undergirding principles about how I go about the work. And those principles have to do with respect for the employees, respect for you, and how I go about, number 3, the recommendations. So respect for the employees has to do with the research process that I undergo to make sure I fully understand your organization and the challenges, so that the recommendations I make sense. But what that also turns into many times is promising employees confidentiality in that process. Yes, I promise them that I will not disclose their identity unless they give me permission to do so. In turn, that often turns into people being willing to share with me things they may not otherwise. This has a real interesting effect on principle 2, respecting you. Because what it turns into is this: I have to figure out how to use that information, how to protect the employee's identity, and then present it in a way that you can hear it, that you find credible, particularly if it's information that I know is going to be hard to hear. But I take my commitment to providing honest feedback and reports so seriously that I am willing to take a verbal lashing, if you will, for not being able to give you the employee's identity or the source of the information. I'm willing to take that because I respect the fact that you need to know so much. And that turns into number 3, the way I go about writing recommendations. I hope all of my clients know this, but I am never willing to come in-house full-time to help a client implement the recommendations. I think that that undermines the integrity of the relationship that I have with the client. And if the client thinks I'm gunning for a job, the client in turn, I think, would have a good reason to question my motives. So with that being said, I'm never willing to come in house, but it creates a great opportunity for us to work together to find individuals within your organization who are willing to co-own the work that we are doing so that you can fly even when I fly away. With that being said, you get a lot when you consult with me, but one thing you can always trust is that you will get integrity and you will get quality.